Hey y'all, and welcome back to my channel. If you are already subscribed, welcome back my darling. And if this is your first time stopping by or you have not yet subscribed, subscribe and join a part of the Morgan Beauty Gang. Welcome back to episode number 4 of Beauty and Documentary Breakdown, where we are going to break down this makeup tutorial right here, and also Inside the Criminal Mind, a documentary on Netflix that was recommended to me by a little darling of mine, Daniel. Thank you, my dear, for recommending this documentary. Man, oh man, is it a doozy. In this episode, we are going to be breaking down a specific episode inside the Criminal Mind, and it is titled Cult Leaders. This one was very interesting, but there are different episodes inside this documentary. So for instance, there's one titled Kidnapping. If you would like me to do any of the other topics that are on this documentary Inside the Criminal Mind, please get this video to 10 likes and I will put it on the list of episodes that I have coming. Also, do not forget that there is going to be a secret emoji in this video somewhere, and if you comment it down below, it will get you an extra entry into my 100 subscriber giveaway. Yeah, and we're over halfway there, so be sure that you're subscribed, and for extra entries, you put the secret emoji down below. I'm way too hyper. Can you tell? You can tell. Look at this Laura Lee highlight. Damn, girl. Also, be sure that you do listen next for a extreme warning for this video. And also, a viewer discretion is highly, 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 highly advised. We're going to be talking some very dark, terrible things in this video. So if you're not 18, please do not watch this video. So yeah, let's go ahead and get on into the warning. Before we do get started, warning, the following video is going to contain all kinds of different content. There is going to be adult dialogue. There is going to be description of crime scenes. There is going to be talk of sexual abuse, mental abuse, physical abuse, molestation, child abuse, rape. I mean, everything and anything that you can really think about is going to be in this video. If anything like this is triggering for you, or is a sensitive subject that makes you uncomfortable, or you just don't want to watch, I completely understand, and I'm letting you know now to click out, because this one is very dark and this one is going to contain pretty much everything. So I just want you guys to know that prior to me even starting it. So I'm letting you know right now, please click out. I would hate for one of my little darlings to get upset. I don't want to upset any of you guys. So please go ahead and click out. Viewer discretion is extremely advised. Also, you guys, per usual, every product that I use on my face is always in the description box below. It is linked so you yourself can go buy it. Inside the Criminal Mind of Cult Leaders. So I guess first we need to go ahead and define what is a cult. Well, a cult, per Wikipedia, is a system of religious veneration and devotion directed toward a particular figure object. What characteristics makes a cult leader? This person is usually someone who is extremely charismatic. They're outgoing. They're not afraid to talk to you. They also are extremely unaccountable. They do not take accountability for anything other than whatever they claim to be. Whether, like in one of these cases, they are the Messiah or etc. Whatever their belief is, that's the only thing they're accountable for. But anything that happens to you and whatever you go through, they are not accountable for that. They're very unaccountable. Very persuasive, manipulative people. Very. They exploit their followers in many different ways, whether it be economically, sexually, religiously. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of how they exploit their followers. Infamous cult leaders in this documentary are going to be those of Charles Manson, Jim Jones, Warren Jeffs, and David Koresh, I believe, Koresh. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly, but anyways. Now, these are the most known for being like the most evil cult leaders like of all time. And they break these cult leaders down and what they were known for with their followers, what they were known for basically doing to their followers mentally, and how it all destructed in the end. For instance, Charles Manson, okay, which we are going to discuss. Him and his helter-skelter vision was the cause of 7 innocent deaths, one of which was a 8-month pregnant actress. So it was the death of her and her unborn child. Then we've got Jim Jones. Now, Jim Jones and his temple and the creation of his poisonous punch. That poisonous punch, by the way, would end up killing over 900 of his followers. And most of those followers were children. People not even able to decide whether or not they wanted to follow this person or not. Then we move on to David Koresh, known for the Waco, Texas siege in 1993. He was claiming to be the final prophet of the Seventh-day Adventist Church. He was known for sexual abuse, and in the end, setting the house on fire with him and his followers in it, killed pretty much most of his followers, and most of those were children. Then you've got Warren Jeffs, led a polygamous cult who was committed to unspeakable acts of physical and sexual abuse. Now, what causes these cult leaders to just all of a sudden become well known? Especially since most of these cult leaders, I mean, they're all before, social media became a thing. So how did these cult leaders get to where they got? Okay, it's distraction. Distraction is what causes these cult leaders to become so well known. They use something going on in the world or in someone's life to distract them and get what they want out of them. They are known for using people in weak and vulnerable moments. They hardly ever go after someone who, doesn't have something going on. They all usually have some type of something going on in their lives when cult leaders go after them. They also talk about in the documentary how cult leaders are able to find these needs that their followers usually didn't even know that they had. So for instance, like they find, oh, well, I'm the final prophet, and in order for you to get to go to heaven, you have to do this, this, and this in order to go. So they end up doing like these crazy things, whatever the cult leader asks them to do. Just like Charles Manson, he took advantage of the fact that the whole country was going through it. One of the most common things in cults is their one leader thing, okay? So you've got this one person who is able to convince people, their followers, to give up everything. These people give up literally everything, you guys. Their money, their family, their home. Some even give up their wives, their kids, like literally everything. It's insane. There are 3 commonly known facts with cults. 1, whatever the leader says is right is right. Number 2, there's a chain of events where the group is broken down, they're brainwashed, they're changed, and they completely break these people down, and they reset these people, their followers, to believe whatever it is that they want them to believe. Number 3, when the cult gets aggressive and when they start getting destructive, massive harm is caused. And that's a fact, Jack. More often than not, cult members are what you would say, quote unquote, normal, just like you and me. They're everyday people. But like I said, they went through something. Something's happened. They've been through some shit, and this person swoops in at their vulnerable state and says, oh, come here and be with me, and now all this, whatever, live on this farm and everything will be great. I promise you. Give me, we just got to do all of this. You got to do X, Y, Z, and everything will be perfect for you. At first, obviously, these cult leaders are not made out to look like the actual nightmares that they truly, truly are. No. At first, they're made out to look like these amazing people. I mean, just great person. And we're going to get into that here in a minute, but we're just kind of breaking down here what we're about to get into. But they're made out to look like just the best person you could ever dream of meeting, and that they're trustworthy. I mean, you have to remember, these cult leaders are very manipulative and they're very persuasive. So they have a way of fooling you, making you think that they are the nice guy, that they are, they're sliced bread, baby. And then guess what? You're in the cult now. And now that we're going to switch up on you. Now we're going to really show you what we're all about. Now look, boo-boo. There's more than one way that they control their followers, okay? Many different. But some of which are food deprivation. So starving you, okay? Mind manipulation, brainwashing you, okay? They sleep deprive you. You can't sleep. I mean, they do all kinds of things to get these people to completely flip over. I mean, it's not like these people are just like, okay, sure. I mean, it takes some stuff to get them there, but once they're there, they're there. One of the main reasons why once people get in a cult that they stay and they don't leave is because they're scared to death. They're afraid. I mean, you've got to understand, they have been told that they ain't going to make it. Also, they've been stripped of everything. They ain't got nothing. They ain't got their house. They ain't got their car. They ain't got their family. They have had to give up everything to be here. What are they going to do? And not to mention, they are being brainwashed. They're being told whatever it may be. Whether it be that the end of the world is coming, and if they don't stay, then they're not going to get to go to heaven, or, oh, well, you leave and they're going to put you in jail, or, oh, you leave and where are you going to go? You ain't got no money. And I mean, or you're stuck. I got your passport. Where are you going to go without your passport? You're in another country. We'll get to that one. So let's go ahead and get to cult leader number 1, Charles Manson. Charles Manson, he made himself look like this hippie in the 60s, you guys. He made himself look like this outlaw, okay? Who was taking it against the man. He was sticking up against the man, and this was very popular in the time, and he knew this. He was very smart, very, very smart. We'll give that to Charles. He knew this would be popular during this time. It was the 60s. He let everybody know up the bat. He said, look, I am the leader, the only leader. There ain't nobody else leading. None of y'all are going to be in charge of me. I'm only going to be in charge of y'all. Y'all got it? Good. Charles Manson would also give his followers psychedelic drugs and tell them that he was taking them too, even though obviously he was not taking them. He used this as a way to mind control them, to manipulate them. Once he got them under his control and he knew that he had them under this spell, at this point he gets delusional. Because once you start telling everybody else, they're delusional, then you start getting delusional. Especially when, as a psychiatrist said in the documentary, Psychotic, At that point, you're delusional, okay? And that's what happens with Charles Manson. So he is listening to the Beatles, right? Oh yeah, the Beatles, yes. And he's listening to Helter Skelter, okay? And he thinks that the Beatles are talking to him through this song, you guys. The delusion is real. Hold on. So he's listening to this song and he's like, oh my gosh, you guys, they're talking to me. The Beatles are communicating with me and they are telling me that the African Americans are going to try to like take over the world. And they can't take over the world because only I can take over the world. So you all are going to be my catalyst, okay? Y'all are going to be my catalyst. And what I need you guys to do is I need you to go kill some really wealthy, really well-known, really rich people. And what we can do is we can blame it on the African American, the people who are poor and minorities. Do what? And not only that, you guys, but they did it. His followers did it. Yes, ma'am. Sure did. And they would actually write on the walls with the victims' blood. And they would write like Helter Skelter and different stuff like that. And like I said, you guys, these followers did commit these murders, and it would be 7 victims, one of which, like I said, Sharon Tate. She would be 8 months pregnant with her unborn child as well. So unfortunately, I mean, and the thing about it is, you guys, Charles Manson was never at one of these murders. Never. These people went and committed these acts without him even being there, y'all. He didn't even have to show up. He didn't even have to show up. Oh my goodness. After the murder of Sharon Tate, you guys, Hollywood went into a panic. They started freaking out. There was one lady in the documentary who said that, you know, she was, of course, there was like parties and stuff in Hollywood at the time, and people were panicked. She said that you couldn't go to a party without 5 or 6 security guards being there, with them checking every single bag that you've got, you know, wanting to know what you've got in your bag. Everybody is buying weapons. They're buying mace. They're buying bang bangs. I'm not going to say it, but you know what I'm saying. They're buying, they've got security guards. This is when security guards was like a thing. Everybody was having security guards. I mean, people were panicked. People were freaked out. She said this was a time when you really did not want to be in LA, in Hollywood, and have money. She said that people, you know, were ready to sell their houses just to prove that they don't have money. Now, after the arrest, only one woman would come forward and cooperate with police. And there's even a part that they show in the documentary of Charles Manson talking to her in the courtroom and telling her that she looks beautiful that day. And of course she doesn't respond, and a reporter was like, oh, aren't you mad at her? And he's like, no, why would I be mad at her? Why would I be mad? And she testified against him and the 3 like main women who was like his followers. And like watching these 3 women come into the courthouse in this documentary, and they even talk about how eerie it is. It's eerie, y'all. They're walking in the courthouse holding hands, singing, laughing, and they've committed these crimes. They are going up for murder on these people because of this man, and they're like, nothing's going on. Everything's good over here. I mean, it was so eerie and just odd to see them like acting like no big deal, like nothing's going on. It was so bizarre. So now we're going to get into Jim Jones and his People's Temple. This was admiring to his followers at first because it seemed to be this really helpful group that was helping people in need, you know, the homeless, people suffering from drug addiction. But you got to keep in mind, again, these people are very vulnerable. They're homeless. They're just, you know, they're addicts. They're going through it. And Jim Jones knew this. He knew this. He would, you know, that's one thing that cannot be taken away from these cult leaders is they're smart, they just don't use their intelligence for the greater good. So very quickly after Jim Jones starts his cult, okay, his followers very quickly are like, oh man, what have we gotten ourselves into? But Jim Jones was very good at mind control. Very, very good. But very early on, he starts beating his followers' children in front of the entire congregation, and he used electric shock as punishment. So if you did something that he didn't like, he would use electric shock to punish you, legitimately. And very early on, this causes a major fear between Jim Jones and his followers. They're terrified of this man now. Jim Jones moves himself and his 1,000+ followers from San Francisco, California to South Africa to a compound that he would name, of course, Jonestown. Now, these people, his followers, you guys, thought they were going to paradise. They thought that this was going to be this amazing, beautiful place. It was going to be beautiful to raise their kids, these beaches, and oh, they're going to live this great life, and we're going to be able to be in Jonestown and, you know, do something that we actually believe in. And you got to keep in mind, you guys, there's no money. No, money's gone, family's gone, houses are gone, and now they're leaving the country. Now, of course, immediately after getting there, they're like, oh shit, where in the hell are we? This ain't paradise. No. They knew they had made a mistake, but guess what? It's too late now. You're in another country. Oh yeah, and guess what else? Oh, Mr. Jones there, he has all of your all's passports, and you're not getting them back. Nay. You're not getting your passport. You're not getting your passport back. And like I said, they had turned their backs on their family. So there was no family to call. They can't call their family and be like, hey, we're in another country and this man is like holding us hostage. That wasn't an option. They don't have no money. They don't have no family. They don't have their passports. Also, this compound was only big enough to hold 300 people. And here it is holding over 1,200 people. So 90% of the time, you guys, they were starved. Most of the time, they didn't even get to eat. They didn't have nowhere to sleep. They were malnourished. They were, you know, I mean, it was absolutely horrifying, the pictures of this place, which of course I'm going to have them on the screen so you guys can see what I'm talking about. I mean, can you even believe this? Now, a former follower, but now survivor, she said in the documentary, she says, quote, "It was like hell, a concentration camp," end quote. That's what she describes Jonestown as, is hell or a concentration camp. And it literally looked like that. And if you tried to leave, Jones would lock them in isolation in the middle of the South American jungle, and you would have no communication, none. The only communication that you would have would be with Jones or his security. That was it. And most of the time, he wouldn't even let his security go out there. It was literally only him that you could talk to. They had like these big PA systems on the compound, but they were controlled too. So Jones was not only controlling, you know, what he said to these people, but also he controlled what went through the PA system, of course. So they're only being told and hearing what Jones wants them to hear. After a substantial amount of time of them being at this compound, on November 17th of 1978, a congressman is sent down to Jonestown to go see what the hell's going on, because there is rumors going around like people from South America are coming down and they're seeing like what in the hell is going on over there now. And they were telling people in America like, hey, you've got some Americans down here and they're looking starved. They're looking like something's going on down here. And so this congressman goes down to Jonestown to see what's going on. And of course, Jim Jones is like, oh, you know, everything's great. And he really tries to put like a disguise over it all. You know, he tries to pull the wool over his eyes. But if passing notes was even a thing back in Jonestown, because these people are like passing this guy notes like, get us out of here, help us, please, get us out of here. We don't want to be here, but he has our passports. He won't let us leave. Like, we're being abused. Like, please get us out of here. Of course, this congressman was like, okay, this ain't right. And so he's going back to America, and he's, you know, going to get these people out of here. And as he's boarding the plane, some of Jones's security goes and guns this congressman down, you guys. Kills this congressman. All right, so at this point, Jones knows, okay, they're on to me. They're on to me, so we all have to die. We all have to die, and we're going to make a poisonous punch. So he makes this punch, and you guys, this was going to be a mass suicide. And if you tried to escape, Jones and his security would gun you down. Like, it just wasn't happening. And the few who did, very few, because over 900 people would die due to this. Parents were literally giving the punch to their kids, you guys. Giving this punch to their children, okay? And then drinking the punch themselves. Like, this was nuts. And look at this. Jones in the end was, oh my gosh, he wouldn't even drink the punch. No, he had one of his security guards shoot him, and then turn around, and the security guard, you know, then shot himself, as far as we know. And we've got the Branch Davidian in Waco, Texas, which was led by David Koresh. Would end in a full-on like war between like the FBI and the Davidian, and a house fire that would unfortunately end the lives of the rest of his followers. And unfortunately, most of the ones that lost their lives in the end were children. Koresh would use the fact that he genuinely thought that he was the final prophet of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, which would pull in his followers. And he would use sexual abuse against his followers. And his followers started to believe that he had like this supernatural like power. They seen him as the Messiah. And he got more than $500,000 from his followers. His followers, y'all, were literally willing to give up all of their worldly possessions to just be around him. He had them believing that he was Christ. Followers with wives even, if Koresh, whatever, if he found them desirable and he went up to him and said, hey, I like your wife, he'd have to get, the husband would give him up. Give up his wife. Give up his wife, y'all, because they thought that this was they thought he was the Messiah. And the wives would be segregated from their husbands. And usually they would end up having Koresh's children, because of course Koresh is, you know, with them. He finds them desirable and he wants to be with them. So they end up having children together. The reason why he started this was because the reason why he felt like he needed all these kids and children is because he needed to build his cult. And he felt like that this was the easiest way to build his group, was to just have a bunch of kids. Unfortunately, y'all, he would start relationships with the children as young as 10 years old. He would also tell the children that he was their only parent, and that he was like their mother and father, and that to call their parents dogs. He believed that the end of times were drawing near, and he portrayed the government as satanic, like they were the enemy, and that there was going to be this massive war between the Davidian and the government. And these people believed this. At this point, Koresh has started stockpiling weapons, okay? And his whole group of people, they've got all kinds of weapons. And this mail delivery guy they open this box because they had been hearing a lot of stuff about the Davidian. And so they open up one of these boxes to be delivered to the Davidian compound in Waco, Texas. And they see a whole box full of daggum guns. And they're like, oh man, we're going to have to go down there. We're going to have to see what the heck's going on. FBI, here they go. They're going to the compound to go and see about these weapons. And like I told you guys, these people think that the end of times is going to be a war between the government officials, and them. Okay, so keep that in mind. These people genuinely think that that's how the world is ending and they've got to defend themselves. The Davidian opens fire on the FBI. And right off the bat, there is 4 agents who have lost their lives and 5 people in the Davidian already off the bat. And the people in the documentary, there was one of the FBI agents who was actually there. And he said, you know, we did not open fire on them. They opened fire on us. And, you know, so it's just unfortunate. He said, because that's not what we wanted. That's not what we were there for. We were there to help them. At this point, Koresh starts getting rid of some of his followers. The ones that he, you know, don't think really has his back. And they're not, you know, shooting FBI agents. They're like, get out of here, get out of here. He's like, get on out of here, scat. You know, you're not with me. You're not really part of this. So he starts kicking them out. And at this point, Koresh starts demanding the FBI to leave. And the FBI agent in the documentary, he's like, we couldn't leave. They had done killed FBI agents. Like, he wasn't getting this. And that's part of what they talk about in the documentary. Like, they start to believe their own delusional thinking, these lies that they have told their followers. They start to believe it. So he genuinely thinks, you know, that he is the Messiah. And, you know, he's like, I order you to leave. I demand you to leave. And the FBI's like, no, question mark. And Koresh decides if he can't lead the group, then nobody else is either. And so he decides to go ahead and set fire to the compound. And after the event, agents found members inside that had been shot and beaten to death. And unfortunately, y'all, in the end, 75 people died in the event, and 20 of those were precious little innocent children. And Koresh ordered his second in command to shoot him, and then to go ahead and turn around and do the same to himself. And his name was Snyder, I believe. That's what they called him in the documentary. And so he did his command, and yeah. And what is even more crazy, y'all, is this siege happened in 1993, and he still has over 100 followers. Now we've got Warren Jeffs, who became leader of the FLDS in 2003. And when he became leader, there was between 6,000 and 10,000 followers. In the areas that they were in, such as Colorado, Arizona, and Utah, the FLDS, they ran those areas. What I mean by that is they were the policemen, they were the governor, they were the mayor. Any position in charge, the FLDS ran. So this made it difficult off the jump, and this is what made it so easy for Jep to have control over this situation for as long as he did. And very quickly on, Jep started using sex as a reward. He started removing husbands' wives and their children as punishment. Jeps would actually send the husbands to an outpost where they'd repent and plead to never do it again. So they'd have to go out to these outposts and like say, oh, I'm so sorry, I'll never do it again. He also would make the decision on who would be able to get married, who gets to have children. And what would eventually get Jep in trouble was not only him using sex as a weapon, but his interest in underage girls, and not only girls, but also boys. He would molest both girls and boys, and subject them to rape. It's just a lot, and it's freaking horrible, and I even hate talking about this man. Thankfully, there would be an anonymous tip come in to the FBI that would bring authorities to to their area. And obviously, as soon as they get there, they know something's going on. You've got these really young, like 12-year-old girls full on pregnant, or have like 2-year-old babies. Like, they knew off the bat that there was something not right going on here. So he eventually creates this compound in Waco, Texas, and he hand selects the followers he's going to take out there. And it was on this ranch, this huge ranch. Over time, you guys, Jeps held millions and millions of dollars in assets and property. Now, Jeps would end up fleeing the ranch, hightailing it on out of there. And they talk about how he was in a red Cadillac, and how he used to forbid his followers from even wearing red. And they talk about how that was just so ironic, how the cult followers, these rules only apply to the followers. They don't apply to them. They also talk about what Jep had in the car. He had tons and tons and tons of cash, you guys. Like a whole, underneath the seat full of cash. And also, he had this tape that was discovered that this FBI agent talks about in the documentary. And it is a tape of his sexual rules to the females. Things like, I'm not going to get into most of it because it's just way too much. I'm not doing all that. But basically saying that they had to do orgies with him and many more disgusting, sick stuff. And they even talk about, there is a recording of him with his latest wife, who was I think they said 12 or 13 years old. And she's petrified, crying, obviously. And he's like, oh, don't cry. This is what's going to get you into heaven. Ugh. I can't stand talking about this guy. Seriously, it makes me just so mad even talking about him. Also, in the documentary, they talk about how Child Protective Services, they show a clip from the news of Child Protective Services on the news saying that they ended up taking 401 children into Child Protective Services. Is that not crazy? What in the world, man? The Child Protective Services, they had nowhere to put these kids. They were full. And unfortunately, these children would go back into the arms of their parents. I know. And one of the things that literally blows my mind, Jep is still running FLDS inside of prison. So yeah, y'all, I hope that you did enjoy this beauty and documentary breakdown, where we broke down this makeup tutorial and inside the criminal mind cult leaders. Y'all, final thoughts on this. This is dangerous business. These people, I feel are just something of a different breed. The fact that they get these people to leave their family, leave their friends, leave their job, leave their home, give all their money away, leave the country, commit these heinous crimes and believe these crazy things. You just have to wonder, dang, that's a lot. So yeah, this is a very interesting documentary. And if you guys enjoyed it, there are other topics on this documentary, such as serial killers and also kidnappers. That is very interesting. So if you guys would like me to break down those episodes, please like this video so that I know that that is what you want. And if this video gets to at least 10 likes, I will do one of the next topics on Inside the Criminal Mind of this documentary. We'll do another episode that's inside of that documentary. Please do be sure that you are subscribed before you do leave, and also comment the secret emoji that's been in this video down below for an extra entry into my 100 subscriber giveaway. And yes, I love you guys so very much. Do not forget that all the makeup used to create this look is down in the description box, along with my social media for your convenience. And if you follow me on social media and you have a documentary that you would like to recommend using the hashtag BADB, you can let me know of a documentary that you love and that you would like me to break down and do a makeup tutorial too. Yeah, y'all, without further ado, I love you guys so very much. And until next time, bye guys.